The mortal world is doomed. It is destined to be consumed by chaos. It is the will of the dark gods and the servants of the ruinous powers already march upon the fallen gates to force their way into the jungles of Lustria. But the Lizardmen stand defiant, led by none other than Lord Mazdamundi. They will face and fight the will of the Chaos Gods themselves. From the north they came, a vast army bearing the banners of the ruinous powers, bringing destruction and death. Reptilian scouts and creatures from all over the jungle alerted their kin of the upcoming invasion. When the warriors of chaos reached the fallen gates, they found a Lizardman force standing before them. As the Chaos host drew closer, the sun's light was choked by a shadow that befell upon the battlefield. Thousands of warriors of Chaos advanced tirelessly towards the colossal temple with a single driving motive: to usher in the inevitable downfall of all mortal kind into their hellish enslavement, their huge weapons already screaming for blood. They all advanced towards the fallen gates. Dragon ogres and twisted creatures marched forth, with their monstrous and primal fury barely contained. Ragnar was the Chaos Lord, leading the Dark Army, a skilled warrior and sorcerer, truly a destructive instrument of the Dark Gods.
You cannot understand our origins, our motives.
Mazdamundi stood defiant, knowing that they must hold the Dark Host on the bridge or all hopes of winning the battle would be lost. The Saurus warriors were ready for battle. Created solely for the purpose of war and protection, their bodies, brutish and strong, and their minds solely focused on warfare. They don't bother themselves with lesser matters. Temple Guard, the elite forces of the Lizardmen, were also standing ready, without blinking, adorned with sacred glyphs, armoured plates and ancient weapons. They are matchless in combat. The Chaos Forces brought forth the Hell Cannons, a fusion of demonic spirits and Hellforged machinery. The energies released by those cannons tore reality apart as they arced towards the cold-blooded Lizardmen, the blast constantly slamming into their ranks, scattering warriors and leaving a trail of dead in their wake, as if announcing the coming of the Chaos Horde. Pterodon riders advanced forth, harassing the Chaos advance and the Hell Cannons. With a gesture, Ragnar gave the order to advance. The fell legions rampaged forwards, knowing this was their time to release their violent fury and unleash the will of the Dark Gods upon their enemies. The defenders also advanced without a second of doubt, their instincts indicating only one thing: to kill the invading enemies in front of them, for they were not part of the great plan. The Lizardmen met the charging monstrosities, able to match their ferocity and return it in kind. What followed was remorseless combat. Hulking Kroxigors battled dragon ogres in jewels of earth-shattering strength, while the Saurus warriors stood in the face of the Chaos warriors, both sides dealing devastating blows that would split a normal man in half.
Sick uncanny. Zulak Mazdamundi Sarkwa.
No force was willing to give a step back, and the fighting grew in intensity and scale with each passing second. The unrelenting sounds of combat and war chants could be heard around the battlefield. No quarter was given, and the bridge was soon enough awash with blood. Festagax, a powerful chaos sorcerer flying atop a twisted beast, emerged from the jungles, announcing with a thunderous voice that the end was nigh. A second army of chaos was coming close to crush the Lizardmen force and bring damnation to all of Lustria.
To the ordinary, we are unknowable. Rightly feared.
Tetchik, the skink chief, advanced forth to meet the coming flying creatures and buy some time. His efforts were in vain, as Festagax soon enough landed in the middle of the raging battle. The pressure began to weigh on the defenders as the havoc unleashed by the new Chaos Sorcerer proved to be too much to contain. Festagax unleashed deadly spells that tore flesh from bone, and many lizardmen died under his magic. Mazdamundi answered with some spells of his own, bolstering the lizardmen and enhancing their fighting skills and savage reptilian muscles even more. Magic began to flow heavily at the fallen gates. It was time for the Temple Guard and the rest of the forces to enter the fray. Lord Mazdamundi gave the order. The second army of Chaos Warriors emerged from the jungles. The Pterodon riders surveyed the skies and coordinated the defence, while reinforcing where they were needed the most. Ragnar kept fighting with unstoppable determination, wielding the wild energies of chaos itself. No lizardmen could match his martial prowess. The lizardmen line barely held tight. Hundreds of Saurus warriors lay dead. Many still remained and stood fighting the now unbearable chaos tide. The Temple Guard executed their sacred duty, fighting on until the enemy was annihilated or they themselves were slain. The battle had lasted for hours now, and the fighting was done atop the bodies of fallen warriors. The fact that the bridge had not collapsed to the weight of the living and the dead was a miracle in itself. But the Lizardmen line was about to break. It was then that Mazdamundi unleashed a powerful spell that opened the skies. A comet emerged and clashed straight into the centre of the Chaos forces. The strike was brutal. The warriors of Chaos kept fighting, but not for long. Lord Mazdamundi began advancing, and his mere presence pushed the Chaos host away, while the Lizardmen gained momentum and savage inspiration. Ragnar saw that the battle was lost and fled the battlefield. The rest of the Chaos army soon followed, and the Lizardmen pushed their enemies, cutting them down without mercy.
Thank you for watching. On this channel, we're putting together fan-made cinematic episodes featuring historical and fantasy battles based on the settings from the Total War series and, of course, good old World of Warhammer. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and hit the notification button to be the first to watch the next battle.